Coal built communities across America. In places like Kentucky, it still does.
I've had to work in some extreme conditions. I wouldn't wish it on nobody. Strength, you can't breathe.
I've had about everything. My hands broke, my finger cut off.
Your initial fear going in is, you're not going to come out.
It's work that comes with risk, but for many, there isn't much of a choice.
It's more like survival. You got to make ends meet.
A good friend of mine had black lung. He's dead now. He died.
And for many, the cost isn't just the job.
Scarlett didn't really understand it at first because I was seeing her a lot less. She was like, "Daddy, I just want you," but
The industry is changing, but in many towns, the alternatives haven't come.
And a lot of the communities are trying to find other ways to generate revenue or find jobs, but those certainly have not fully been replaced.
The president had promised at some point that he was going to bring coal mining back.
He ain't gonna do nothing. If he does, it'll be non-union.
So the work continues, balancing livelihood and loss. This is coal in America today. You can feel it as soon as you get here. It's in the land, in the towns, and the people whose lives revolved around coal. It's not even just the miners. The lawyers we spoke to and the doctor, even their families go back generations working in the mines. But what happens when this industry that has been so central to Kentucky starts to fade? Coal helped drive America's growth, fueling industry, transportation, and expanding cities. As demand grew, so did the communities built around it, shaping local economies and the people who depended on them. Thousands of people still work in coal mining and related industries. While employment has declined over the years, it has not disappeared. Coal burns less cleanly than other energy sources. It releases more carbon dioxide and air pollutants, which have been linked to climate change and health concerns. At the same time, other forms of energy have become more widely used. Natural gas and renewables like wind and solar are often cheaper and produce fewer emissions than coal. As a result, coal's role in the US energy mix has declined. The shift has also become a political issue.
You can talk about windmills, they litter our country.
During his campaign, Donald Trump pledged to support the coal industry and protect mining jobs. Supporters argue coal remains a reliable energy source and an important part of the economy in certain regions. In February, the Trump administration moved to roll back some limits on toxic emissions from coal-fired power plants.
So today, I'm proud to announce that Administrator Zeldin and the Trump EPA have taken another massive step towards energy dominance by repealing once and for all the Biden EPA's 2024 amendments to the mercury and air toxic standards for power plants.
But many policymakers and environmental groups support a transition to cleaner energy, citing long-term environmental and economic benefits. The debate continues in Washington. We traveled across eastern and western Kentucky to see what's happening on the ground. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Good
meet
to see
you
you.
too.
Yeah,
Thanks
for
for having
sure.
us.
For sure. Come on back.
Chris Rhodes is a personal injury attorney in western Kentucky. He works at a firm founded by his father, representing injured workers, including coal miners. For him, the connection to mining is also personal.
And then this is from my grandfather in the coal mines, some of his old equipment and helmet, lunch pail, safety kit, things like that.
Because it goes back a few generations, right? Your family's.
It does. My grandfather was a coal miner and my great-grandfather was a coal miner.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now you're basically, did that have any impact on what you do today as a lawyer?
It did. It had a huge impact.
Yeah.
It sure did.
So how come you didn't end up kind of working in the mines, but now you represent people working in mines? Like, how did that happen?
Well, I had an opportunity to do what I do. My father is an attorney, Jerry Rhodes,
Right.
and he represented a lot of coal miners and the United Mine Workers, the UMWA. And when I grew up, I saw him representing a lot of coal miners and injured working people, and made a big difference in my life and helped steer me into doing what I do now.
Right.
Yeah.
His father, Jerry Rhodes, is a lawyer and former Kentucky state senator who also represented coal miners. So your family history is tied to coal mining. Your father-in-law worked in mines. His father worked in mines, and he actually died working in mines. Your father-in-law contracted black lung disease, and you've spent your life representing coal miners.
I spent a good deal of my law practice in Madisonville dedicated to representing not only coal miners but working people, factories, and as coal mining dropped off and more mines closed, we diversified our practice a lot more. I might also add, in addition to the death of Chris's grandfather, my wife's uncle also died in a coal mine accident.
These right here, when my great-grandfather was in the coal mines, he worked in Martwick, Kentucky, which is a little bitty mining community, and they would pay the miners with company money. They were called flickers, and these are some of the old flickers they would pay them with. So this is probably 80, 90 years old.
These are pieces of history that shape communities across Kentucky. In many parts of the state, that legacy runs deep and reaches far beyond the mines. Dr. James Brandon Crum, a pulmonologist, comes from a long line of coal miners.
So I was a fourth-generation miner, and Dad was a miner, grandfather, great-grandfather were all miners on both sides, my mom and my dad's family. Started working in the mines when I was about 14 or 15 years old, and I got in trouble, and my dad said if I had time to get in trouble, I had time to go to work. So he put me to work the next Saturday, and I worked on the outside of the mines, a little bit inside, and mostly on the tipple and the surface from the time I was 14 till I probably was 21 or 22 years old, summers, weekends, holidays, anytime they needed help. But I think that experience was invaluable in understanding from the miner's standpoint, the disease. You know, the medical side you can get.
For generations, coal supported entire towns. And when that began to change, so did everything around them.
So as coal mining, at least in our area of the state, I think across the state of Kentucky, has been less and less and less, there has been a huge economic impact. And a lot of the communities are trying to find other ways to generate revenue or find jobs, but those certainly have not fully been replaced.
We heard political promises that coal would be brought back. That did not happen. Coal production has gradually declined. It's maybe stabilized a little bit. We now have about 3,500 miners in Kentucky, and that's kind of been stable for the last couple of years.
You know, a lot of people would give an opinion probably that coal went downhill because of unreasonable safety regulations that came through the Obama administration. Other people will give you the answer that coal has decreased, coal mining has decreased because of cost associated with it and the cost of gas being much less. It's just not as efficient. So I'm sure there are two schools of thought that could argue with each other. In my world, typically the truth is somewhere in between.
Joe Wiles is a retired coal miner who had to retire at 55 due to injury.
I worked 30 years strip mines.
Yeah.
I worked about 8 years underground to finish out my time so I could get my pension. I've had about everything. My hands broke, my finger cut off. I had my back broke underground. I was a mechanic, I worked on this loader, And I was sitting there watching it run, make sure it was running all right. The whole roof fell in on me, smashed my hard hat to the ground, smashed me to the ground, broke my back. And then I had a doctor come in and get me.
When you look back at it, do you regret working in the mines?
Well, I enjoyed working for strip mines. I loved it.
For all the injuries, Joe still loved it. Working in the mines, eventually you also developed the black lung.
I had black lung. A good friend of mine had black lung. He's dead now, he died.
Black lung disease is a disease of the lungs in which there is particles of dust which are inhaled into the lungs. And sometimes these dust particles get trapped within the lungs, and then after oftentimes years, they can develop into multiple manifestations. So we can have nodules, we can have pulmonary masses, which are complicated black lung, interstitial fibrosis, COPD. Those are all some common manifestations of black lung disease, which can often be limiting from a lifestyle standpoint, but also can lead to transplant and be quite deadly.
Overall, I'll have to say the federal black lung program has not been terribly favorable to coal miners. It's a lengthy process. The benefits are not great. It's very bureaucratic. Even if the miner gets a favorable decision, he has to face an endless series of appeals, which delays the finality of the award. And many of the coal miners we represented died before their cases could be resolved.
Decades ago, coal miners in Kentucky were often backed by powerful unions that fought for wages, safety, and benefits. Today, with fewer mines and fewer workers, union presence has declined, leaving many miners to navigate those risks with less support.
And the unions used to have some leverage to help take care of safety issues.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're relying upon the coal mine owners and operators to provide a safe premises.
With fewer protections in place, the risks don't just end with the injury. In many parts of Kentucky, access to medical care can be limited.
Being in a rural area, from just an everyday treatment, from just general pulmonary stuff like inhalers and vaccinations and treatments for pulmonary infections, all the way carrying through to transplant follow-up and care, is quite limited in Central Appalachia, which significantly affects our miners. And it is very important to maintain funding for things like our black lung clinics, and also to maintain funding for NIOSH and CDC, which helps screen our miners for black lung disease. And the earliest that we can catch it, then we can preferably remove those individuals from the dust and hopefully prevent or curb the disease from being as severe as it could be.
Yesterday we spoke with a miner who suffers from black lung, also broke his back working in the mines, lost his finger, later on in life developed cancer and had a stroke, and now can't use half of his body. And when we ask him, do you regret working in the mines? No, he says he did it for his family. Is that your experience with miners in general? How do they deal with what they're suffering from?
Yeah, it's when you come from a very rural area, then when you have a sense of accomplishment and pride, that's something that stays with you.
I wore a hat a many a night, all night long.
Yeah. How long did you work with this one?
Probably 50 years.
Wow. You never changed it?
It's had 2 or 3 liners put in it.
Yeah. 40, 50 years with this hat. Wow.
Would y'all like to have that hat?
No, 50 years of you working, I don't feel right taking it, honestly. Yesterday I was in eastern Kentucky where I met with Joe Wiles, who spent years working in the mines, and he sustained countless injuries. Not only did he develop black lung, he cut his finger and broke his back. And when you ask him, do you regret working in the mines? Because Really, the true cost of working in the mines is the toll it takes on your body and health. And he says he doesn't regret any of it, and that he did it for his family. And this truly represents the essence of a coal miner, sacrificing your health for your family. The history runs deep. Coal mining in Kentucky dates back to the late 1800s, when expanding railroads and industrial growth drove demand for fuel. In the mid-1900s, Kentucky became one of the leading coal-producing states in the country. Much of that coal helped power homes, factories, and transportation systems across the United States. Today, that history is preserved in places like Kentucky museums, where I saw equipment, photographs, and personal stories that offer a look into the state's mining past. Today I'm headed to the other edge of the state, to Western Kentucky, to meet with the current generation of coal miners. And Western Kentucky is where mainly the active coal mines remains today. Billy Hall and J. Travis White come from different paths, but they've landed in the same place. For Billy, it's been years of layoffs, long hours, and a body worn down by the work. For Jay, it was a choice, leaving another career behind for the paycheck the mines could offer. But for both, it comes down to the same thing: doing what they have to do to provide.
Yeah, I started work in 2005. I worked in a county, about 3 counties over. I spent about 3 years at a place called Tico. It had a layoff, as they all have, and I went to a company called Booth Energy. I spent about 4 years there. They laid off. Went to Red Hawk. They shut down over the Obama administration. They blowed up on live TV. They demolished coal tipple smoke. It's for the coal that burns the coal out for the power, AEP, in Ashland, Kentucky. It was burnt, or it was blowed up, and after that, they laid off. So I spent from 2015 to back in October working for Met Coal and Metinvest. They laid off. Worked at another small mines locally, and they shut down at the end of February. So now I'm trying to file for my unemployment. I've been having difficulties filing in Virginia on my unemployment, so right now I'm just looking for a job. I can't find anything. I've had to withdraw my 401k retirement to live off of, and it's with 4 children, and the way the economy is right now, it's real difficult.
For Jay, it meant leaving one career behind after realizing it wasn't going to be enough.
When I first got out of college, I worked for a place called the Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy as a software engineer, and that's when I realized that software engineering was not for me. Didn't get paid much more than when I was an intern, and coal mines pays a whole lot more.
Some of the older miners we spoke to, developed like lung disease, black lung. Do you have like any such concerns?
I mean, it's always there. You're always going to be worried about it, but your initial fear going in is, you're not going to come out. So that's something you have to make peace with, and you have to be a certain kind of person to deal with that every day and not freak out, or get through the work day, get your stuff done, and get out of there.
I've had to work in some extreme conditions that I wouldn't wish it on nobody. strength. You can't breathe. I've seen some young guys, and that's about all they can get now is the young guns that come out and see that money waving at them, and they reach for it. In about 2 or 3 years, their health is gone. I've got sleep apnea from it. I'm a light sleeper. I'm just having the work a lot of third shift and all the time, you know, working 6 days a week and not seeing your family and stuff. You make family with people you work with, and then you show up for work and you're laid off, and then you don't have nowhere to go, you know.
I want to be there at least for 10 years. I don't think it's a long-term thing, but I'm not looking for long-term. I'm looking to make sure that I'm in there as long as I have to be to get debt-free and get to a place where I can do a normal job and be okay, sustain myself and my family. It's more like survival. You know, you got to make ends meet. You got to do what you got to do to make it. I have a little girl, and she is 10. She'll be 11 in June. Yeah, her name's Scarlett. Love her to death. I don't get to see her as much where I'm working underground, but you know, I got to make sure she's got everything she wants.
Do you think like people in Kentucky are more family oriented?
Yes, I think so. Family's very big here.
How would you like for life be made easier for coal miners? Because you guys deal with so much.
Well, if you listen to what you hear on TV, you would be led to believe that coal's booming at the moment, and that's not the truth. Coal was booming when Bill Clinton was in office. Coal's not booming now.
Well, Trump's promised that he would bring jobs back to coal, and has that been your experience?
No, I've been employed longer during Democratic administrations than what I have during Republican demonstrations.
Do you think like companies are doing a worse job? What can be done also like to basically, can this be prevented? You know, all the bad air the miners are breathing.
Force multiplier a man has is how good he is at his job to be able to compete with what they actually require. They want you to work real hard and in bad conditions and work every day and don't miss work. But you know, we're the ones in there doing it. So, but it's somebody outside telling us what to do, and so there's really no there's safety net for anyone. It's dog eat dog. Yes.
Yeah.
We have some of the best coal in the world here in Central Appalachia, and probably just as unique as the coal is the workforce that extracts it. And you know, the men and women that work in Central Appalachia currently and have worked over the last 75 or 100 years is a very unique, fascinating group of workers, and they should be protected and they should be recognized much more than they have been for, you know, fueling this country for the last 100 years. And there's a definite sense of pride, and it is well earned for the risk that the men and women take every single day just to provide for their families. And the strong sense of family from our Central Appalachia miners is just something to be recognized and applauded and commended.
Where do you see things headed? You mentioned there's so many different aspects. There's the policy aspect, there's the economical aspect, there's the because we always hear that the companies are trying to balance like basically their profits versus their workers' rights. And where do you see things headed for Kentucky and mining and coal overall?
I would like to say that it's going to get better, but you know, you look at the last 20 years and it hasn't gotten any better. There's been little to no cooperation from any of those groups, so that's disheartening and saddening. I would like to be optimistic and say that we can have, you know, further talks, further cooperation to try to curb this disease and slow it, but I'm extremely pessimistic, unfortunately, that we will see those types of changes.
I don't see a rebound at first. I don't see us switching back to thermal coal in the near future. So I'm not sure where we're going to head at this point. I'll probably try to get another job in some other kind of industry.
It's been kind of disheartening to see the gradual demise of coal mining. We still do represent coal miners. We hold ourselves out as a still as a coal miners advocate, Kentucky, I think, has the cheapest energy rates of any state in the country, and that's because of coal. So that makes for a strong lobby in the capital.
I think if mines are run in a safe way and people are treated the way they need to be treated, I do think there's a place for coal mining. And I do think that mining has a place in our community, in our part of the state. It can provide a huge economic lift. It provides jobs for people. And if they can be put in a safe environment, I do think it's worthwhile.
You got another job around here that pays as good or even close to the mines? You know, I'm sure there'd be a lot of people work there.
Spend enough time here and you see both sides of the story. Everything coal's given and everything's it's taken. On the one hand, you have the jobs, the sense of purpose, the pride. And on the other, you have the human toll that people are still living with to this day. And as the industry shifts, that balance becomes harder to ignore.